Yo, you want to hear the quietest F80 startup ever? Check this out. Yeah, if you're trying to sneak out on a stealth mission, these are the settings you want. All right, what's up, fellas? Well, today is another one of those, why did it take me so long to do this kind of mods, and that is getting into the configuration settings for my boot mode tune. This is my 2017 F80 M3. I picked up a couple of years ago. It's got some bolt-ons on it, but most recently is a stage 1 93 octane off-the-shelf map. That's a lot to say. Dude, it is still a lot of fun, right? I've had this map for a couple of months now, and still at like that 50-mile-an-hour third gear pool, just snaps your neck back. Like, I forget how much faster that a map like that makes this car. So anyway, today I want to get into some of the configuration settings that you can augment to a map, either an off-the-shelf map or a custom tune, whatever it is. A couple of settings that you can get into to make this car even better. If you are experienced with boot mode, you already know this stuff probably, but I don't know, stick around. You might be interested in the opinion stuff. And if you are new to boot mode, if you're thinking of picking up a license, if you just picked up an F8X car and you want to get into tuning, all that stuff, stick around, because this is definitely an easy way to make this car a lot better. And of course, it goes without saying that boot mode is not the only, tuning application out there. There's a lot of great options. However, I think boot mode, it's fantastic community support. It's been around for years, very proven track record, very safe application tuning tool. So that is what I went with here. So anyway, today I got six, not five this time, 6 different settings that we're gonna get into to make this car awesome. Not that it isn't already, but you know what I mean. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna get into today is the GTS Startup Roar. Now, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, always feel free. The GTS Startup Roar is basically, so for these cars, F8X cars, it has a startup. It kind of spikes the RPMs when you start up, right? However, these cars start up with the valve closed. The GTS Roar, as I understand it, is the same thing, but the valve opens up. So it's a bit more of an aggressive, startup sound, right? Now with boot mode, you have 4 different options here. You have on, off, original, and OEM. So on and off, pretty self-explanatory. Now when you set off, it just disables that startup spike entirely. Then of course you have original and OEM. So OEM is obviously whatever came from the factory. Now if you happen to have an M4 GTS, your factory setting would be that GTS Startup Roar. But any other F8X car, you're gonna have the version of the startup where it spikes the RPMs, but the valve is closed. Now, original, on the other hand, is gonna be whatever is inherent to this map. So this is an off-the-shelf map. So the tuner who designed this map, whatever they set the GTS Startup Roar setting to is what it's going to be. I'm not quite sure if you can see where, I never really tried to get into where if you can see all the different specific settings that are detailed for an off-the-shelf map. Maybe it's around here somewhere. However, I'm gonna set mine to OEM. Now here's the rationale for this. I'm going to probably do this for every setting if you're interested. So for the GTS Startup Roar, I don't like there to be nothing. So what you heard in the intro, not a fan. I like that little bit of that spike. I did have GTS Roar enabled. That's the one setting that I enabled when I originally did the stage 1 map. Here's the thing though, if you have modified exhaust, it is crazy aggressive, right? So I have the Valvetronic equal length sport exhausts and the ARM high flow catted downpipes. So that combination it's pretty aggressive. So when you couple that with an open valve startup, it's kind of terrifying. In fact, I've gotten to the point where I try to be kind of not a total asshole, a little bit conscientious. So if I'm at a parking lot, at the grocery store or something, if I have somebody walking behind my car, I'll wait for them to pass before I start up, because dude, with that exhaust combo, it is jarring. Actually, I kind of feel bad about this. We were in Ohio at a gas station one time, right? And so we were at some Sheetz, and I'm at a parking spot that is a good, I'm bad with distance, but I'm gonna say it was 20, 30 yards from the door, and I didn't realize that there was a mom with, the girl couldn't have been any older than 5 or 6, and they were walking in the door. I didn't see them at that point. Start up the car, right as I look in the rearview mirror, I see the little girl, dude, her head did an exorcist snap, just whole body sort of jump, because it scared the shit out of her, right? And I mean, I feel bad. It's kind of funny, but I feel bad, So that's the kind of thing I typically try to avoid. And given that the GTS Startup Roar has just gotten to be a little bit too obnoxious in general with my exhaust, gas station, stuff like that, people hate you. So, so I'm going to go back to OEM for this. All right, next up is Rev Match. Okay, so right now I have these all set to OEM. So rev matching, if you were not familiar with the F8X cars, in efficient and sport mode, you have rev matching where if you downshift, it'll automatically rev match so you don't have to blip the throttle, it does it for you. After like the second or third day, I really got tired of it. Now granted, I drive around in Sport Plus like 99.9% of the time anyway, which does not have rev matching on, but I really came to hate rev matching. In efficient mode, if I'm doing like a long road trip or something like that, especially I got the wife with me, I typically try to keep it in efficient mode. And yeah, I don't like rev matching. I don't know, it makes the car feel too autopilot-y. I don't like things being electronically manipulated, especially when it comes to shifting. I'm a diehard manual transmission enthusiast, fanatic, whatever you want to say. So yeah, I don't really like the rev matching stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and disable that for all modes. I do think it's interesting that when I did flash this map initially, it seemed that rev matching was on for Sport Plus, I guess all modes, and it's almost like, why would you do that? I'm not really sure why we would put Sport Plus rev matching on, but anyway, so off, off, and more off. It's already off for Sport Plus, but we're just gonna make sure everything is off. So anyway, that is the end of rev matching. Okay, next up is cold start, cat heating. I don't think I need it anymore. Like, I understand why it was put into place. You know, like when you first start the car up, for about a good solid minute, it elevates the RPMs to like 1,000 or something like that. It heats up the catalytic converters and all that stuff. It's a little startup warm-up process. My exhaust, the mid pipes, got rid of the cats, and the cats that were the downpipes attached to the downpipes had been replaced by 2 high flow catalytic converters. So what was 4 reasonably restrictive, not crazy, but like somewhat restrictive cats is now down to 2 high flowing cats. So I don't really think I need the cold start anymore. And here's another thing. And this is a whole separate video that I might make depending on if I ever find the fix to this, but I still have a little bit of rattling in my valve for my Valvetronic exhaust that has been really irritating me. And the 2 times that you can hear it is during cold start and on a high RPM rev with the valves closed, right? So getting rid of cold start is going to partially, for the most part, solve that problem. And what's really bad is like, and even before I did anything to this car, right? Even when it was totally stock, with the cold start, it never sounded good. And then if you don't wait for it to calm down and you start trying to like say reverse out of your parking spot or something like that, it spikes the RPM a little bit harder and it just makes the car sound terrible. Now with cold start, this is one of those things that I have tested out ahead of time. I did play with some of these settings before making this video, and the cold start does seem to get rid of that valve rattle problem about 98% of the way there. Like you listen to it, I don't know if it came through on the microphone, but you can still hear just a little bit of it. But you know, it's way better than it was when I had cold start with this valve rattle problem, which I hope to be fixing in the near future. I'll make a separate video on that if I get that figured out. I thought I had it fixed, quick detour. I thought I had that fixed. I made a video about it a couple of months ago, like fixed, solved the problem. It was good until I installed the downpipes and then it all came flooding back. So long story. But anyway, cold start, getting rid of that. Okay, further down, exhaust flap, right? If you change these settings, you can see, you know, again, they give you, the cool thing about boot mode is that whatever setting you set to will give you a description of it. So if you're not sure, the little yellow text pops up showing you exactly what it means. So when you set your car to Sport or Sport Plus, it opens the valves. You can distinctly hear the change in exhaust sound. However, by default, BMW, their default setting, it doesn't open the valves 100% of the way. It sort of actuates it based on like throttle position and some stuff. There are some aftermarket hardware that you can fix this, like Dollar, I always forget how to say it. But anyway, they sell a valve controller, so does Valvetronic, a couple of other companies, sell a valve controller that you can wire in and it will force the valve open 100% of the way. But you can also do it electronically by means of boot mode, which is kind of awesome. Now, again, this is another setting that I have tested. To be honest, I didn't really notice a big difference. I don't know if maybe I just didn't spend enough time with it, but like, and maybe because the exhaust is just crazy loud already, that could also be, you know what? I forgot about this. You know what that could also be? There is an original setting. The original setting could have opened the valve 100% of the way, and so when I did the stage 1 map, maybe it opened it up all the way then. So maybe that's why I don't hear a difference of it now, because maybe it's been opened all along. I don't remember sensing a big difference then, but I was so enamored by the crazy, insane change in the feel of the car and everything after the tune that I could have just missed that entirely. Anyway, whatever, we're gonna set it to open because I don't, whatever the map does, but I'm gonna set it to open. Actually, you know what? Here's how I know. Here's how I know that the exhaust flap setting on the stage 1 map is not set to open. This is my hypothesis, right? And I think that opening the exhaust, I keep looking down at my computer, I probably should look at the camera, but I think that setting the exhaust flap to 100% open solved this problem. So here's what I noticed. Now, I did mention that I had some exhaust valve rattling on cold start, and when the valves are closed on high rev, and by high rev I mean like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 RPM. Okay. After I upgraded the downpipes with the ARM high flow catted downpipes, I ran into this other weird problem where, you know how like if you do a pull, say you're in third gear, I think it's like third or fourth gear, third gear, I do a pull, and you know how there's like a space between letting off the throttle and when burbles kick in. There's like that little gap as the engine is kind of pulling down, right? Say it's like a half a second to a second long. I started noticing, and this happened again right after I did the downpipe installation, I would hear like a flapping sound coming from the exhaust. It wasn't a rattle, it was like a flap, right? And it was just this really distinctive, like tinny, it was like a high-pitched metal kind of tin, but it sounded like a flapping sound. And I kind of thought that this was something that was exacerbated by my already valve problem. Maybe that valve in there, which doesn't have enough tension on it, maybe it's like flapping because of all the new exhaust pressure, something like that. However, I did test setting the exhaust flap to all the way open, and the problem went away. Now, I also kind of played with some of the Burble settings, but I really think that it had to do with the valve being not in the completely open position, and so when I did set it to open, that sound went away entirely. So whatever it is, if you run into that problem, I don't know how common it may be, I don't think I've run into it on the boards or anywhere else or any other videos, but if you have that weird flapping sound after doing a downpipe upgrade, maybe it's a combination with the Valvetronic exhaust, maybe it's some other exhaust, I don't know, but setting the valves to all the way open with boot mode solved that problem. All right, next up, catalytic monitors. Basically, it's that thing that throws a check engine light if you've upgraded your downpipes. So unless you have the active AutoWork downpipes that have the slightly higher cell count cats on them, which avoid the check engine light, pretty much any other downpipe, probably gonna throw you a check engine light. Maybe there's some out there that don't, I don't know. When I got the ARM high flow catted downpipes, I didn't get it right away. It took a couple of days before the check engine light kicked in, but eventually it did, right? And I mistakenly thought when I initially, in the video where I did the stage 1 map, there's a section in that video where I thought that the map would have maybe included the thing that suppresses the catalytic monitoring because my check engine light went away. That's only because whenever you do a flash with this thing, it just gets rid of all of the errors. But if you have any, they will eventually come back unless this one's suppressed. My map, the off-the-shelf stage 1 93 octane map does not suppress or disable catalytic monitoring. So we're gonna go ahead and set that to off. Disables the catalytic efficiency monitor to remove the check engine light associated with catless high flow downpipes for off-road use. I like how they throw in for the off-road use. But I guess that's like a pipe shop saying that they, you know, sell these pipes for tobacco. That was like in the 90s though. So, I mean, nowadays is way different, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so catalytic monitors check engine light. Set that to off, get rid of that check engine light that just bugs me. I've actually kind of gotten used to it, but I still hate it there. Also, that is worth noting though, that if you actually have some other fault with your car that would throw a check engine light, it still will. You're not suppressing the light, you're just suppressing the catalytic monitoring that as a result of your high flow cats throws a check engine light. But if you have a legit problem that would throw a check engine light, you'll still get it. Okay, well, I think my computer overheated being out in the sun right now. So we're gonna take a quick break, get this thing. I hate this thing. This is a 2016 MacBook. The touch bar sucks. Everything about this thing sucks. It's practically on life support. The battery's like dead. Whatever. Anyway, not important. I'm gonna go let this thing calm down a little bit and then we'll come back. Okay, we're back. Let's try that again. So I actually forgot that you could do like offline mode where you can just set up your map changes and then go flash later. Totally forgot that was an option. So the last setting I want to get into is probably the most subjective one here, and that is Burbles. Feels like it's probably like a Mac Windows thing, like a Mac versus Windows. If I had to describe what my Burbles sounded like, either by means of the fact, like however they were from OEM with all the stuff I'd done to it, or by means of like the stage 1 tune, maybe that adjusted it a little bit, but it almost was like, imagine Burbles falling down the stairs. Like, that's what it sounded like. It was like a bum. It was almost comical. I really, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a fan. I thought they were just overly aggressive. But I felt like it was like a toxic relationship where like, I want to get out of this. Like, I want to disable them, but like, I still kind of have a little bit of feeling for them. And I know that there's a lot of people who think that like Burbles are the scourge of the car community. I don't totally disagree. So I tested a setting that kind of dialed it back a little bit, and I found myself like, wow, it's great. I can like really hear the sound of the exhaust better and the engine better, and it's not being ruined by these obnoxious pops and bangs. But to some degree, I'm like, I kind of want a little something there, right? And that brings me to Nardo. So Nardo, again, if you're new to the channel, Nardo is our 2018 F80 M3 in Nardo Gray. It's a beautiful car. We got it about 2 years ago. Full and performance exhaust from the factory, which is a fantastic exhaust, great sound. Nardo's Burbles are kind of more like, it's like a grumble, like a, you know, like just a really rapid fire grumble, but kind of muffled, so it's not like super annoying. I always kind of thought like, man, I think this car might have been tuned before because it seems way faster than a regular F80 with a couple of bolt-ons and an M-performance exhaust should be. But after testing the GTS Burble tune on my car, I'm now pretty convinced that it did, right? So Nardo is not a GTS car, obviously, but after having heard what the GTS Burbles sound like, I am pretty positive that that is what that car has. I think maybe I would dial the aggression down even just a tad more. Like once it gets going, like once you get the rev range out there, it does still pop a little bit, but for the most part, it's that grumbly sound that I was talking about that I really, really like. So I was going to go and try out a bunch of more different settings, especially on the aggression scale. There are so many infinite different Burble things that you can adjust with boot mode that I didn't want to take the time to go through all the different settings. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possibilities with boot mode, right? So you could do OEM, which is whatever the car came with from the factory. GTS, so if you have a GTS, GTS has its own Burble profile, or you can mimic that, right? ZZP, so the competition, which my car is competition, so the ZZP probably is what I would go with in order to mimic whatever the OEM setting was, and I could verify that by doing ZZP because I kind of remember how they sound. Maybe they were just dialed back a little bit, maybe that aggression was a little bit less. Non-ZZP, so if you don't have a competition, I don't know if are they off? No exhaust Burble as found on the base model vehicle. So okay, so that would turn it off. OTS, which is the latest released off-the-shelf exhaust Burble setting. Then, of course, you have original, which is whatever it was defined for the map. Off, disable Burbles entirely, which I guess would be the same as non-ZZP. Or custom. And custom is where you can get into your settings, right? But after hearing the GTS, I'm not sure that I will. So that's what I'm going to do. I might still play with this a little bit more, but for right now, we're going to set this map to a GTS style M4 exhaust Burble setting. And so that is our setup. Save. Confirm save. Map configured. Reflash the map to have changes applied to the DME. Will do. So, all right, so let's go flash. That startup is better. Let's go for a little ride. Try out these newfound changes. Hope I can remember them all as I talk through them. All right, so let's check out these Burbles. Not really anything. Oh, just a little something there. Yeah. So you hear that subtlety? Yeah, I still got some grumbly there. Okay. See, that's what so I'm in Sport Plus. You hear the little bit of, yeah, that's it. Just a little something to let you know it's there. Not crazy, not pops and bangs and so it's like getting in that 3,500 RPM range in third gear. It's up there a little bit, but it's not. You let off the throttle, and it's almost like pure engine sound, pure exhaust sound coming down. Yeah, it's super, super docile. I'm a fan. It's a little more pronounced. Yeah, so it definitely seems to focus more on the engine, more on the exhaust sound, letting off the throttle. But every once in a while, you get that grouping that lets you know what Burbles are still alive and well. Again, I still might tweak it a little bit. I still might set this to custom and put like nothing on sport. And then maybe try to find like the GTS similar setting and put it on Sport Plus or, whatever. It's all about getting that aggression down enough to where you get that grumble. Because rumble's not good enough. Grumble is where it's at. So you still get that grumble, but no pops and bangs. Don't like the pops and bangs. Probably said that 500 times already, but I feel like I need to drive that point home. All right, so let's run through the list one more time. So we got GTS Roar set to OEM settings. We got Burbles set to the GTS profile. We got Rev Matching disabled on all modes. Valves 100% of the way open. Catalytic Monitoring disabled. And Cold Start disabled. So those are our 6 super awesome but basic boot mode settings that have made this car undeniably so much better. So much better. All right, I'll pull a little U-turn in this part. A GR86 in Neptune Blue. My cousin just got one of those. I think it's awesome. It's a nice looking car. So yeah, for me, I think these are the optimum settings. These are the good balance of boot mode settings. Again, a lot of these settings are, well, not a lot of them, but some of these settings are highly subjective. Obviously, everybody's got their own taste, their own, preferences and stuff like that. But for me, no cold start, GTS Roar without the valves open, no rev matching, blah, 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 the list. Especially the Burbles in the GTS profile. Hell yeah, that's what I wanted. That is the sound that I wanted. This is pretty much what I think Nardo is. Beautiful car, needs more time on the channel, man. Good Lord. All right, guys. Well, hope you have enjoyed the video. Like I said, this was more of obviously this was a sort of a boot mode basics deep dive, opinionated sort of, video. So if you're interested in getting into tuning, and by that I mean, grabbing some software, this is an off-the-shelf map again that have been messing with on this car. But at some point, I think I'd like to actually learn how to tune. But anyway, so yeah, if you are getting into that, if you have an F8X car, if you're thinking of getting one, which by the way, not a bad time to get one. The platform is almost 10 years old at this point, so you can definitely pick these things up at a pretty good price these days. But If you are thinking of getting into tuning, hopefully you got something out of this video. Leave a comment, let me know if there's a setting that you have messed with, something that I should check out that you have done that you might like. Drop a question if you have any, I'll do my best to answer them. But in the meantime, again, hope you enjoyed the video and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.